Mute.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Chrystal. Hey, sorry, this took a while, everyone. So glad to get this started. Welcome everybody. This is the next episode of the C-Suite Reflection Room. We are Eubrics AI, and we help organizations build their workforce effectiveness through conversational and generative AI. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, what we do here on the talk show is we invite a guest and we have them give their expert opinion on a topic which revolves around workforce effectiveness. So today's topic is unlocking managerial effectiveness through human connection. And if you're an aspiring leader, a manager, a CXO, or lead teams in any capacity, this one is for you. But today, what we have decided is we are going to try to give it a different spin. Normally, we pick a topic and we talk about it, but this is going to be an activity, and we do recommend everybody to do this activity alongside. This is something that you can do by yourself. And joining me today is Chrystal Meach. Chrystal is a life coach and a founder of Tao of the Heart. Tao of the Heart is not just a coaching program, it's also an amazing podcast which helps people connect with themselves. You will find the link of this podcast in the chat, and I definitely recommend you to check it out. Chrystal, thank you for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It was so awesome to be here.
Perfect, perfect. Chrystal, just to give a little bit of background about what the concept behind Dove of the Heart is, Chrystal helps people connect with themselves, she also believes that it is super important for a person to connect with themselves first, for them to succeed in their career, in their relationship, or in different aspects of life. Chrystal, can you tell us a little bit more about this concept? Why do you feel this is important, and how does it impact a person's overall well-being and aspects of life?
Well, I think being connected to yourself, and I just know this from growing up. Like I had this amazing career, and it always felt like even though I was at the top of my game, I was never fulfilled. And so that was the journey of really understanding why I wasn't fulfilled. And it was really understanding that I needed to connect to myself first before I could connect to, like you said, relationships, career, everything else. And the exercise that we're going to do today, it kind of hits home right away. So it's 3 easy questions, and um, yeah, it'll help you connect to anyone. And you don't necessarily have to use it in management. You can use it with your significant other, you can use it with friends, whoever you want to get to know better.
Perfect, perfect. So this sounds interesting, Chrystal, and as whether it is as leaders or in our individual life, we usually tend to look outwards towards solutions. That's the normal tendency that we have, and we quite often forget to look inwards to find a solution. So it is great to see how we can uncover more about ourselves in this activity and how we can make this fruitful for our relationships and our career. So, Chrystal, would you also like to tell us a little bit more about how this affects managers and their careers, how they manage teams, and how does it affect the workplace?
Um, well, I think connection inside um, really, as the more you work on your inside, the more you see it reflected. So if you have a team that you're managing, and let's say you have someone on the team that, oh, they just drive you nuts. And we all have that. And it's really they're reflecting back something in you that you need to work on. So you can work all day on the outside, but it's really the inside that brings the fulfillment and the solution you're looking for. So as a coach, I'm really holding the space for people to realize that they have the intelligence within themselves in all of their problems.
All right. So this seems like a very interesting concept, Chrystal, and I'm looking forward to uncovering more about myself, and I'm sure that audience is also looking forward to the same. So, Chrystal, before we begin the activity, would you like to give a little bit of brief to the audience of how to go about it, if there are any instructions? So, for those of you all who are listening, Chrystal came up with this activity of having 3 questions which will help you uncover more about yourself and reflect back upon the connection that you have with yourself and how it can lead to better relationships and career. And this is exactly what we're going to do today. So, Krishwal, over to you. Let's get started.
Yeah, so this is a Freudian quiz. So I don't know if you know, Freud is the father of psychology. So he came up with this quiz. And so, yeah, let's get started. Get a pen and paper, and we'll just start with the first question. And I'm going to ask you, Maxim.
Okay.
And you can answer.
Yeah.
My guinea pig. Okay, so first question is your favorite type of animal.
Okay.
And then 3 reasons why, 3 descriptions of that type of animal.
Okay. So am I supposed to answer spontaneously, or can I take a few seconds to think about it?
Take a few seconds to think about it. Everyone else can write it down or, think about it for a little bit.
Okay, so the answer is pretty straightforward for me. I've been a cat owner for a long time, so my favorite animal is definitely a cat. And the reason why I feel so is cats are very independent, easy to manage, take care of themselves very effectively. Um, they they also have a very different way of expressing love, which if you're a non-cat owner, you probably wouldn't understand, right? So that makes them a little unique in terms of how, as a pet, they express love, which is different to many other pets. And the third reason would be that cats are curious, right? We all know the saying, "As curious as a cat." So it's fun to see them exploring stuff. You let them in an open area, they'll just try to find different places to go see what is there. If there's a small noise, they're very curious to see what's going on. So that's probably the reason, top of my mind, 3 reasons why I think I like cats. I'm sure there are a lot more reasons, but these are the first that come to my mind.
Okay. Next question.
Okay.
Your favorite article of clothing.
Okay.
And then give me 3 descriptions of that clothing.
Okay. All right. So I'm not really somebody who is very much into clothing as a concept. I prefer I just pick something which is nearest in the wardrobe, I would say. But if I have to pick something which is my favorite, I would say it is probably a simple white T-shirt with a blue denim. If as an outfit I can pick that. And if I have to describe why as well, I would say that it is because it's simple, right? It's simple and it's elegant as well. Something which looks nice, and it makes the whole process of clothing simple, right? You don't really have to worry about shopping too much. You just pick it and go. And also another reason why is it never goes out of fashion, right? I mean, it's probably not the most fashionable thing, But 10 years later, if you're wearing the same thing, right, probably nobody's going to say that, what is this guy wearing, right? Of course, you may not be the center of attention by wearing that outfit, but you'll probably never go wrong with it either, right? So it just keeps the whole process simple. And I'm also a tech guy, so I prefer not to be in the limelight. I prefer to be delivering value from behind the scenes. So I don't know if this ties in together, but that's my take on the clothing.
Okay, and then the third question is favorite body of water. Can you tell me a body of water that you can think of and 3 ways to describe that water?
Okay. So when you say body of water, you mean like a
It could be a
river?
pond and
Okay.
ocean,
Okay.
whatever comes
Okay.
to mind.
Okay. So I would say it's the ocean. Okay. And the reason why I would say it's the ocean is that it is vast and extremely massive, right? It's very difficult to really fathom how big an ocean really is, right? And it's extremely powerful at the same time, right? It is one of the forces of nature which, if at all it creates a tsunami or anything of that sort, right? It's extremely powerful and probably one of the strongest forces of nature. It's also very unexplored, right? So there is so much for us to know about the oceans, and even as a fact, right? We know more about Mars and the Moon in terms of how much we have mapped about the surfaces of planets. We know far more about about Mars and Moon than what we know about the depth of the oceans. So that would be some of the reasons why I would say it's the ocean, and that's a interesting question. It's hard to pick one, but if I had to really pick one um, unconsciously, so that is what I would say.
Awesome. So now we're gonna dive into what those questions really mean about your subconscious. So the first one, favorite type of animal, you answered a cat, and that reveals the way you view yourself. And
Okay.
you mentioned like love, curious, exploring. Do you think that that really describes yourself?
Yes, right. I think I said independent, yeah, curious, and a different way of expressing love, right? Yeah. So I do believe that that is something that describes me in a in a very specific fashion, and that's probably why I admire the same thing in a different entity, probably, right? So yeah, but yeah, it is definitely spot on. I think those are some things that I exhibit myself as well. At least what I believe are my traits very distinctly.
Yeah, and you have so much detail. I really love that about you. Like you brought out so much in this answer. Like and it connects with me because I think about, well, first of all, I love cats. And then second
Oh,
of all, um just independence. I mean, all these things. I think about myself as well as you answer. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. So the second answer or the second question was your favorite article of clothing, and you picked a white t-shirt. And the article of clothing tells us how others perceive you.
okay.
So you mentioned simple, elegant, you can go anywhere with it. It never goes out of fashion.
I hope I don't go out of fashion. So that's really
Yeah.
good to know.
So, and you can kind of wear it anywhere, right? And you kind of talked about being behind the scenes in that. So that's really how, in a way, you perceive yourself. But that really tells us more about how others perceive you.
Okay.
Which is a
Okay.
reflection back.
Okay. So Chrystal, one question I have on this is, since this is something that I chose, how does it reflect back into others' perception of how the others perceive me, right? I mean, because it is my choice, it it could be right, it could be wrong, right? When that
Yeah.
perception, or is it something which I think how others perceive me? Like how does this thing work as a concept?
So, well, it starts with, for number one, you can't really control other people, correct?
Right?
Your highest power is your own control. So, your own control is in your perception of yourself, and that reflects back in others. So, every interaction that you have with another person, especially as a manager, um, it's really important to realize your power, right?
Right.
So if you see yourself in a positive light, others will see you in a positive light.
Oh, perfect. All right. Got it. So Crystal, if I understand this correctly, what you're saying is because I perceive this about myself, it is quite likely that others perceive the same thing about me, because that is most likely going to be the characteristic or attributes that I exhibit in my personal life or even at work, right? So that's
Right.
is that right to say?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Interesting. So this I like how this is going. So I do have a few follow-up questions once we complete the third question as well. So I'm really intrigued to know more. But yeah, we'll go on, Krishna.
Okay. So then the third question was your favorite body of water. And so you answered the ocean. And this is how you connect with yourself, the level of connection that you have with yourself. So
Okay.
you answered an ocean, massive, powerful, um, force of nature, and so much to explore. And I mean, that is a study in and of itself in that one question. But that's pretty awesome, right? I mean, to have that connection with yourself. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I do believe that it it resonates in a lot of ways, right? Because I do believe that there's always more to explore about yourself as you step into different stages of life. Or rather, I also have this belief that every 5 years you go through a significant change in yourself, where you're probably a different person than what you were 5 years ago, right? It would probably be because you have moved through a stage in your career, a stage in your relationships, or general maturity, or a stage of life. You moved countries, you're in a different job, right? So you are exposed to so many different experiences that um, it transforms you. And when you look back at how you were 5 years ago, it would be hard to believe that, hey, I was that person, right? Not in a negative way, I would say. It is how long you have come and how different you have become, right? So that is why I do believe that there's more to explore for yourself, and that would be the way to look at life. And I do believe massive would be, yeah, I'll have to ponder more on how I look back at myself when I say when I connect to an ocean at a massive level. Yeah, so yeah, maybe it is because my dreams are big, so maybe it is connected to that. So it does resonate in a lot of ways, Christel. So it is an interesting exercise that a question this simple can turn into something this insightful, especially from a reflection exercise. right? So very interesting. I'll need some more time to go back and think back about this, but this is something which hits the nail quite hard.
Okay. So what was your follow-up question that you had?
Yeah. So Chrystal, what I would be very interested to know is that how can we use this reflection, right? This awareness that we get from this exercise to our workplace or in our lives. So how can we apply this? What are some of the recommendations that you would have to some takeaways that we can use from here to think a little more deeper about this?
Well, I think first of all, like just taking the test is, I mean, don't you have so many questions now about how, you know, what does this mean if I said this, and what if I don't like what I said, for example?
Right.
Like for example, you might say, I like the ocean and it was choppy. Well, what does
Right.
that
Yeah.
say about connection? So then, so it just leads to a deeper dive, but also I think it's really interesting to ask other people. Like you, I mean, we barely know each other, but
Mhm.
like in a dating capacity, in a interview capacity, it's fascinating. Um, from a coaching, executive coaching perspective, we do go deeper
Mhm.
um, and look at some of the answers and how do we take advantage of those answers in a positive way. Um, and I think it'd be interesting to ask your team these questions and, you know, like, what were their answers? Would they be willing to share them and connect? Um, and also, when you know the answers, you can also think about how you can motivate your team. Like, now you know, hey, this person's more independent. So, how can I structure what they need from me as a manager to motivate them? Um, and it goes both ways. You know, someone that's operating from trauma, you know, they may not even realize their disconnection.
Right.
And so, helping them come to that realization is pretty profound. I mean, I think we can all say that in our. You talk about every 5 years, you become a new person. Yeah. I've seen it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks a lot, Crystal. So this, I think it gives me a lot to think back, and I'm sure it does for the audience as well. We are going to open this to the audience for questions. So please feel to ask the questions, everyone. So while while we are having some questions out here, Crystal, what I would also like to understand, and this, so we as a platform, we do. Just one second. Yeah. So Crystal, we as a platform, we also do managerial effectiveness journeys with AI, and I think this gives us an interesting activity for us to infuse into our journey because we do have different kinds of reflection activities where we encourage managers to ask where we ask certain questions, and then we get people to understand more about themselves. So this would be an interesting exercise for us to also consider, which can be part of this journey, maybe where we can have a connection with themselves as a module, and that is something for us to consider. So you have given us a lot to take away and think about. And while we are having any questions here, Crystal, do you have something else that you would like to share with the audience from your experience, your previous sessions with working with managers, something that has worked really well, something for people to know about?
I guess, I applaud everyone for their journey, and it's not always a perfect road, right? And that's the beauty of all of this. And this is just another tool on your tool belt, on your path. So I hope you can use it, and I hope it brings whatever you want to use it for. I mean, I hope you connect more with yourself and with others by using this tool.
Absolutely, I'm already having some takeaways for myself, and I'm sure the others will as well. So while we're waiting for questions, I see a few people typing. So let's just wait for a few questions, Chrystal.
Okay.
So one of the questions that we have is, do managers need to have all the answers, or is it okay to show vulnerability sometimes?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to ask, what do you think? Do you think there's power in vulnerability?
So Ashwath, this question is directed to you. So do you think there is power in vulnerability, or do you think it is not okay to be vulnerable? I want to be vulnerable, says Ashwath.
Yes, vulnerability is a huge power. And, I think we go to school and we learn skills, talents, but, we don't necessarily learn vulnerability. And it's a great gift to be vulnerable with your team and to connect, because that really motivates other people. So we need productivity and we need vulnerability. So we need both, masculine and feminine.
Yeah. So I do agree, Kushal, and I do believe that as managers, it's important to be vulnerable, and I think it's one of the way people connect with you. Trust gets built. So it's definitely important to be vulnerable in different ways.
And sometimes it's hard to be vulnerable. And, there's in a work capacity, there's you don't need to be that vulnerable that you tell people your most intimate details, but at some level that they can relate to you. So there's a balance there.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next question we have is how to make strong human connections when most of the team members are working from home.
Well, I think just on the platform, being able to see your face is, I mean, that's a big deal to to be in Zoom and being able to see other people's face even though they're at home, and we're finding new ways to connect. Like right now. I mean, this quiz, well, what do you like? What and how do you view yourself? And through this conversation, we're connecting. So it's a big deal to, you know, have some sort of connecting point with a person, especially if they're a team member of yours and you're working with them.
Right. And Chrystal, we are a remote team, and what we had done recently also is that we are now on cameras for all the meetings, and it does make a very big difference even though we are located in different parts of the globe. So it just makes that experience so much better. Of course, it is not the same as sitting in the same office, but it still makes it so much better than having a conversation where you can't see the person face to face, right? You still feel like the person is around. You feel like you understand the person understands you. You're able to see what the person is feeling to a reasonable extent and gauge a lot more, right? So that's something which is very helpful. All right, so we are a little bit over time. So do we have any questions? Something that people have? If people don't have anything, I would have just one final question for you, Chrystal, is so this question that you asked, right? Whether it's your favorite animal or whether it's your favorite piece of clothing or the body of water, um, is the question important or is what I described more important? Like, could you replace the question with what's my favorite color, right? And would it lead to a similar outcome, or do you think it would lead to a very different outcome?
Well, I think the point, the intention is there. And so it might have a slightly different outcome, but at the same time, I think it's very telling, on a deeper level, like favorite type of animal. I know that children that grow up with animals have a very different emotional intelligence compared to children that don't. So I think that there's definitely something to the questions that he created. But yeah, I mean, favorite color, that would tell me something. That would be very interesting to me. I mean, I would personally tie it to like the chakra system. Like if you said blue, I would think of the throat chakra.
Right. So I would also try to read a little bit more about this and how this works. So it seems like a concept to know more about. So thanks a lot, Chrystal, for introducing us to this activity. So thanks a lot for coming on the show. So for those of you who joined a little late, so Chrystal is the founder of Dove of the Heart. She runs a podcast. So in case you want to check her podcast and the conversation that she does, which I definitely recommend all of you to do. So you can check out the link. She has a YouTube channel where she has this conversation, and she's also a life coach. So you can also reach out to her. So thank you very much, Chrystal. So we are Eubrics AI. So we help organizations develop workforce effectiveness. Thanks for joining us. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.